Hi, my name is Karen, and today I want to introduce you to an online graphing tool called Desmos. To use Desmos, you're first going to type in their address in your web browser, www.desmos.com, and you will arrive at their home screen. Desmos can be used for all general users, students, teachers alike, absolutely free. Or you can also, as a teacher, use Desmos to create guided activities. Today, I'm going to focus on how to use it as a general user in an unguided way. So the first thing to do is click on the red button saying Start Graphing. That's going to take us to a blank page. We have over here on the left an equation window, and over here on the right a graphing, kind of unlimited graphing paper. So the first thing we can do is type in some kind of equation and it will graph it for us. For example, I can type in some kind of quadratic equation, which I've been doing with my students recently in my Algebra 2 class, and I can type in some kind of equation such as this. This is a parabola, and the first thing I can do if I want to get my graph into the center of the window is I could just kind of click and drag to get a clear picture of that. And I can also use my scroll tool on my mouse or touchpad and zoom in by scrolling that tool. Okay, so now I have a graph, and if I want to change the look of that graph, for example, the color, I can press and hold on the red button here, and I can see other color options. And I can also make it dashed if I'd like to, or different styles. Right now, I think I'm just going to keep it blue and solid. Okay, so the main purpose of this tool is to not only graph, but to have learning activities so that you can make a connection between the equation and what's happening on the graph. So if I wanted to generalize for my students, we could just type in a general equation here for a quadratic. It's called the Vertex Form. And I can put placeholders in for all of the numbers. And when I do so, right below it, the equation comes up Add Slider, A, H, and K. And I'm going to click All. It's going to add a slider right below for each of those variables. Now I want to turn this first one off because I want to be able to see what's happening on my graph. You can turn on and off functions by just clicking on the button. Okay, so these sliders for each of the variables help students see what's happening. If that number A is getting larger and larger, what's happening? If it actually gets negative, what happens to the graph? So it's helping students understand exactly what that coefficient is doing. Same thing for the H. They can see that this value inside the parentheses is doing a horizontal translation, and K is simply moving the graph up and down. So it's a direct learning experience for the student to make these connections. If a student would like to further, for example, put, let's see, I'm going to move my translation right onto the axes, and I'm going to move this up right to 1, for example. I could have a student label the vertex, it's called, which is that minimum point, and put a point at 0, 1, and have that point labeled exactly its value. I'm going to change this to blue. All right, so this is your basic graphing tool, and you do not need to log in or create an account to use this tool. If you wanted to do the guiding activities, you would log in, or if you wanted to create something as a teacher, you would create an account by signing in. Generally, you just create an account using your Google account. Now, what if I wanted to customize this graph here? I can move this out of my way, and I could just bring it back by clicking on that button. And I can go over here to the wrench tool, and I can change the axes independently. For example, I could change the x-axis to say -5 up to +5, and I can choose my step sizes. And I can change my y-axis to whatever scale I want. For example, maybe -1 up to 6, for example. And if I wanted to actually use this in a worksheet, or if I wanted a student share something that they created with me, then they could simply hit the share button up here, and you have your choices between printing to a PDF file or a regular printer. More likely, my students export the image as a downloadable file, a PNG file, or you can also just get a link and embed that into some other application such as Google Slides. So this is your basic functionality for Desmos. It's a great tool. I highly recommend it for any student of math or any teacher of math. I hope this helps. Have a great day.